You are listening to the Earplug Podcast Network, a Fanboys Inc. production.
What are you doing? Stop being a professional. We have a very important guest right now. Introduce our very important guest. What?
He is the greatest of all time. An intercontinental champion. The Honky Tonk Man!
The greatest intercontinental champion of all time. Wow, you're horrible. My God, you're so unbelievable.
I'm sharing our show on all of the social medias.
So, is that any way to introduce the greatest intercontinental champion of all time? Of all time. He held the belt one day longer than the Macho Man Randy Savage. That makes him the greatest of all time. Of all time, Jamie. Of all time, you know this.
All the time. I do know this. I'm just sorry. I'm just not 100% today. It's been a day. I'm getting over it.
This
is awesomeness.
Yeah, it is. This is pure royalty. We're on the final stretch to the road to Rhode Island Comic Con. And do you know, sir, why are you going to Rhode Island Comic Con?
Because I want to hang out with all the fans, have some fun, and I want to get out of this nice weather in Phoenix and I want to come up there and maybe it'll be snowing and I can dig out my old winter clothes and maybe my mittens and boots and everything. But no, I love doing these Comic Cons, and I'm glad to be here with you guys. Even though she did a wonderful job, I've had people that said the greatest. What did you say? They would go and it's like, and you prep them for 5 minutes and you tell them, okay, here it is. Even you have it on a sheet of paper, and they will say WW whatever and the greatest WWE Intercontinental Champion of all time, the Honky Tonk Man. I've been doing it for 40 years, so it's easy for me. So, but I don't listen. I don't care as long as I'm getting introduced. It doesn't matter to me how you do it.
She was nervous, but you are.
Luke just likes to put me on the spot, is what it is.
Yeah, well, you guys put me on the spot because you got me 2 days before I'm supposed to do the hair. See, this is not, and the shaving and everything. So yeah, this hasn't been touched since you guys saw me in Colorado. So
really,
yes, it's one of those things.
Mine too. Mine too.
When I'm not working, I don't shave. I don't do any of this. I don't fix this stuff. So either tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll get it all ready because I'm doing the New Mexico Comic Con in Albuquerque Friday, Saturday, Sunday that's coming up, and then off to Rhode Island the following weekend.
All right, we have some comments we're going to get up. Restricted Streaming says, yay, I'm ready for this episode. Jamie, read Kevin's comment.
Kevin! Hi, Kev. He says, I finally returned to the Angrygeeks podcast. Jamie and Lewis, go nuts. Start chanting my name. Oh, Kevin. Joe says, hey, kids. Hi, Joe.
And, wow, they're coming in through. And Joe McDonald says,
yeah, Joe said again, the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time.
Yes, of all time. You have to put that emphasis on it, like of all time.
Of all time.
Joe, Uncle Joe. Hey, Lewis, Jamie,
Uncle
and
Joe.
Loki, the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Here we go.
Wow, we got new ones coming in.
Did that one, yeah.
Yeah, hold on. And here we go, Joe McDonald.
Yep. Greetings, Honky. Good to see you.
And then it says, yeah. It says for Lewis, it must have been hard to say that. That is because I am a huge Randy Savage fan, but it's true. I'll speak the truth. Yeah, brother, that's right. Yeah. I'll speak the truth. Honky held the belt held the Intercontinental Championship belt 1 day longer than Macho Man. So you have to say what you have to say. You got to speak the truth.
You know, Randy was a great champion. Randy was a great guy. I did very well with him. I enjoyed our time that we had together, and we weren't. People always say, "How was Randy outside of the wrestling?" I never hung out with him. We never went anywhere. We never had dinner together. We very seldom stayed in the same hotels at all. I would see him at the matches, at the building, and I wouldn't see him after that at all. So it was strictly business, which in a lot of cases, keep it business and not personal, and it always works better.
Okay. Mikey G, which you'll be meeting at Rhode Island Comic Con. He works for ARE. He says good evening. And Kevin comes back with another comment, yeah. Jamie.
Kevin says also, Honky has the greatest neck breaker of all times. Nothing better than the shake, rattle, and roll.
Oh, yes. You stand in one spot, you wiggle around just a little bit. And someone asked me, they always say, can you still do the shake, rattle, and roll? I said, well, I can shake, I can rattle a little bit, but no, I don't roll too often anymore.
And Donald says, hi, Jamie, Lewis,
even though it's legal, I don't do
And Donald says, hi, Jamie, Lewis, and the greatest champion of all time. And Tom Novak. Jamie, you can read that one.
Yeah, he says, Mr. Honky Tonk, please go easy on Jamie. It takes a lot for her to get as excited as Lewis. However, if you tell her you dig horses, she'll be your best friend. And dogs.
And dogs.
I have one over here laying and resting, and it's my daughter's, and I kind of got her animals now. I have one of her cats and one of my son's cats and one of a stray cat that's here and her dog, and so I don't know what else. And she's talking about wanting a horse ranch and horses now, so she's a horse lover, but she has been her whole life, and I travel so much. I grew up on a farm, so growing up on a farm, being around animals and being around farm life, and not ever wanting to do that again because it was strenuous, hard work. And I was, we were talking earlier that I can't live up in the countryside like you do, Jamie, and away from things. I'm a neon person. I have to see the flicker of the neon lights. And when I left the farm, I went to college in Memphis, I never looked back, and I never went back to the farm, and I don't miss it at all.
I feel like that's how my son is, and it's funny because I grew up just outside of Philly, so I'm used to the lights and the noise, and I couldn't get away fast enough. And now that we're up here, my son will be 17 on Friday. He's like ready to move out, and he's like, "I'm living in a city. I want to see the lights. I want to see this." And I'm like, "Oh, you're crazy."
Well, yeah, that's what when I saw those neon lights in Memphis, that was it for me. I was starstruck by that, and that's I never looked back after that. And sometimes it seems like only yesterday that all the miles and all the things that we did in our business, that to sit home like we did for 15 months over this COVID thing was it was detrimental to all of us. And I'm just glad we're back doing some things now and getting out with the fans and having fun.
Yeah, me too.
What's the biggest thing about going to a Comic-Con for you? What was the coolest thing meeting one of your fans? What was the coolest thing that a fan did for you? Did they if you understand the meaning of my question?
The first one I ever did, I was taken away with it was the Chicago Comic-Con with Wizard World. And Wizard World was very big several years ago and had huge events and nothing like Rhode Island, but it was big. And Rhode Island's one of the biggest events on the East Coast, other than, they're right there with New York Comic Con. And but
thank you.
To see all these things, it was like the biggest circus that had come to town. I thought WWE was a circus until I went to one of these Comic Cons, and I see the costumes and the people dressed up and the time and effort they spend. A lot of them make their costumes. Most of them make their own costumes. It's amazing what the ingenuity that people have and the way they think up these things. But the fans come to me, some of them, they'll be dressed like Macho Man. There'll always be a Macho Man in the crowd. There'll be a Hulk Hogan. Yeah, brother. And and they're historians. They know more about the wrestling than I do. And I've been in it for 40 years, but the fans are really, really fans. They are. And then the other thing was being around other celebrities. And that's, you look at them and you say, gosh, I remember them when they were on TV and they were doing this and they were doing that. And the next thing you know, they're getting a picture with you or asking for your autograph. And it's just like, man, they watched what I did. And that's important. And that's what I like about it. And then to go, like the Colorado Springs, there was only a couple of more wrestlers there, wrestling people. And the one I'm going to this weekend in Albuquerque, there's no other wrestler there. But in Rhode Island, there's maybe 8, 9, 10 wrestling people there. My cousin Jerry Lawler will be there, and some more Bradshaw, JBL, he'll be there. I haven't seen him since I was in the Hall of Fame in 2019. And so it's one of those things where if there's 8 or 10 of us together, then we get to reminisce and see each other. You don't get to spend a lot of time with each other unless you're in the lunch area or something like that, or you're doing a panel, a Q&A like you guys do with people. Then you get to visit and reminisce and tell stories.
All right, we have Mikey G has, wow, that's a lot of words, Jamie. Do your job.
Mike says, it's an honor to see you, sir, and I look forward to meeting you in a couple weeks. I saw your match against the Ultimate Warrior live on pay-per-view at SummerSlam 1988. You, Jimmy Hart, and Warrior really blew the doors off the place.
Yeah, that was something. It didn't last very long. So if you got up and went to the refrigerator or got a drink of water or blinked, you might have missed it. But that was really something. And when I get a lot of questions about it, about how it all came about and whose idea was that, and those things. And but if you go back, and I always tell people, go back and look at it again, but listen to the crowd noise, the crowd reaction. When the Warrior came running out there and his music came on, it was so loud. It was probably the loudest I've ever heard any building I've ever been in.
All right. Joe McDonald wants to know how's the weather in Arizona today? We're getting a lots of rain up here.
And it's cold.
I think today it got maybe 88 and clear skies. A little breeze. A little
and that's all we have for tonight. No.
And tomorrow be clear skies and 88 or 89 again, and it's like that all week, I think, as far as I know.
And that's really all we have for tonight.
I know that when I get up to Albuquerque, it's like in the mornings. The mornings are like 40, 49 degrees or something. So I'm definitely going to have to pull out some winter clothes. I don't know. I know it's starting to get cool. I was watching the ball game. I think it was the Patriots game. I saw a little bit of clips on that, and people did have their toques on, and they had their gloves and things. So it's starting to cool off up your way.
Yeah, I'm wearing a sweatshirt tonight here.
I have mine on. It was like 40 today and raining and cold and
oh gosh, don't tell me. I don't have clothes for it. That's when I lived in Canada. You know,
you better pack a bunch of jumpsuits. You're gonna need them.
Gosh, they're all made of that knit material, and the wind goes right through them. I said, "Gee."
Kevin wants to know do you follow? Do you follow what? Do you follow my monitor? So
you're having. Let me read it.
You read it.
He wants to know: do you follow any of the current products, and would you consider joining AEW as a coach or agent?
No, I haven't talked to any of those people. I don't. It's kind of like, you know, if you're a truck driver, when you're not driving your truck, you don't want to go hang around at the truck stop, and I don't really follow it a lot now because I don't know any of the young people. And you got to understand, that was 30 years ago, and some of these kids weren't even born then. So unless I knew their father or their grandfather, I don't have a lot in common with them. And the business is not the same as it was when I was there. And it's evolved into more of a television product now than it is a wrestling event.
All right. Joe, I can read this one. Joseph Bruin wants to know memories of Howard Finkel.
The greatest ring announcer Howard could. I mean, I just remember listening to the old USA cable TV shows, and they would have that airplane. I don't know if you guys remember this. This is way before your time. They'd have this like 747, like a cartoon airplane, that WWF written on the side of it, and WWF
All American Wrestling. Yes, All American Wrestling. Yes.
On tour. It's coming to Concord, Rhode Island, or New Hampshire. We'll be at the Providence Civic Center. It'll be the Honky Tonk Man taking on the Macho Man Randy Savage. He was fabulous at doing those commercials, those taglines that he did were just absolutely incredible. And we would have to go in, and he would have a little tape recorder. And that's what we would do. I've sat down and done an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours of radio taglines. Like, you know, Saturday night, I'll be in Providence, Rhode Island, little Honky Tonk Man taking on so-and-so, and you're listening to KXKG 105 point. He would have all that stuff written out, and we would do those plugs like that, hours and hours at a time.
Wow.
And Howard was a historian. Howard knew everything I had done before I was in wrestling. He was that kind of a guy, and just a super. I never saw him down and out. I never saw him complain about anything. And then to find out that he had gotten sick, and I saw him at my Hall of Fame thing there in in New York, and he was not doing well. And it was sad. It was sad. It's so sad to see guys that you were with so long, and guys that you had made history with, across the entertainment business and around the world, and for all of a sudden they're not there anymore.
Chris wants to know who came up with the idea for rhythm and blues, and any funny stories.
When I finished with the Warrior, then I went on with Superfly Jimmy Snuka, and after I was done with Superfly, a few weeks or a few months of that, then I needed to be reprogrammed and repackaged. And they had an idea of putting me and Greg Valentine at the time. He needed to be reprogrammed, and Jimmy Hart was managing him at the time, and then was managing me and several more people. So I don't know how it came about to put us together, but we were traveling together at the time. And so I think all three of us, Jimmy, myself, and Greg, decided, let's pitch it and see what happens if they'll go for it. And they liked the idea of us being there and doing it. Then we're about 10 minutes away from going out on TV that night, and we had no name. And it was just Honky Tonk Man and Greg Hammer Valentine. And Pat Patterson was there, and he said, gosh, we need a name for you guys. We need a name, and we got to come up with something. And Ravishing Rick Rude, sitting over in the corner, said, how about rhythm and blues? Honky Tonk Man's the rhythm. He's dancing, shaking all the time. And Valentine's, he's always sleeping. He's always moping around like he's got the blues. And Pat Patterson said, that's it, rhythm and blues. 5 minutes later, the music came on, and we were announced as Rhythm and Blues, and that's how that happened.
Wow. All right.
And a real funny story, Valentine did not want the black hair. He did not want black hair. And he fought it tooth and nail. And we finally got him to do it, and he said, I can't get any girls with black hair. I said, I've had black hair 30 years. I have no trouble getting girls. I said, you're married. Why are you looking for girls anyway? Then he tells a funny story that his wife, she didn't know he was getting the black hair. She told him, do not do it. Do not do it. And, it's a part we play. And if they want you to shave your head and be in a movie, or they want you to grow a beard, or they want you to do something, you take the role, you take the position. And so she didn't know, and he showed up at the airport. She's picking him up. She kept circling around, and he was yelling for her to stop. She hadn't seen him, so she recognized the black hair. Oh, yeah, he almost got a divorce over the black hair. I said, well, dye your hair blonde and go back to being Greg Valentine, and good luck to you. I mean, I hope you get a job. But, that lasted for a good while, and we had fun with it. It was really good. But the Road Warriors came along, and by then Vince was really up on wanting to have the Road Warriors and having them in WWE. And so we were kind of the last team, and we were behind the 8 ball, and that was it for us.
Okay. Jamie, you want to read Kevin's comment? Kevin comes back in with another question.
Kevin says, Honky, who would you say is the best manager of all times?
Oh gosh, there's so many. Jimmy was with me for so many years. He was with me in Memphis before we were together in WWE, and Jimmy worked with me better than anyone else that I had worked with as a manager. We both knew each other. We knew each other's styles, and I didn't have to look for him anywhere. I knew where he would be, and that's important to know your placement. When you have 20,000 people and they're screaming fans, they sometimes get excited, and they'll do things and throw things and charge into the ring and do all sorts of nonsense. And you don't need to be watching your manager, find out where he is when you're trying to really watch crowd control also, and concentrate on your opponent and everything else that's going on. So that made it work for Jimmy and I. Bobby Heenan was a great manager. Captain Lou Albano was a great manager. There was tons of them all along. Gary Hart from Texas was a great manager. There's been so many. It's hard to say, but the one that I worked with the most obviously was the one that was best for me.
When you first came into WWE or WWF at the time, your look, you had suspenders on. When did the look change to the jumpsuits? And how many jumpsuits do you own? My favorite's the blue one.
Okay, I still have the blue one, and I have the red one, and I have the black one. I only have 3 left. And when I tell you what happened to the others, I know that you're a collector, and you and I talked about collecting things, and we'll get into that in just a minute. You'll throw your headset down. But when I came into WWE, I came in with the stuff that I have now, with the stuff that I had then. I didn't have the guitars and stuff down the side of my trunks and things like that, but it was Vince's idea for the suspender thing. Where that came from, I do not know. I have no idea. And I was so glad when they made that thing for me and charged me like $1,500 for something that was horrible. And it looked terrible.
Wow.
It didn't hold up more than 2 weeks. It was torn apart. And I was so glad. I dumped it. I got rid of it. I said, Vince, what about this? And by then I had the guitars down the side or the music things down the side of my trunks. He says, oh, yeah, that's great. That's great. I already had the jumpsuit. I just didn't have as many when I started there. But the jumpsuits were there. I didn't have the ones that were like custom made. I have the 3 I just told you about. So anyway, I had about a half a dozen of them made in Calgary before I went into WWE. And so after wearing those all those years, they became tattered and torn, and just to me, they didn't look good anymore. And once I got the really nice ones out of Nashville, the blue one you like was $10,000 in 1987. So, so if that tells you anything.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was. I designed it. It was custom made by the costume maker in Nashville. It's too bad the country music people don't wear the rhinestones anymore. They all look like guys.
I wear rhinestones. You'll see them in Rhode Island.
The entertainment people now, they want to look like the guys off the street. It's like, look, they're buying tickets to see something special. That's it. I like this. See, that's what you wear. You got to look.
Don't encourage him.
So
Jamie says, "Don't encourage me."
So now, jumpsuits. I was moving from Memphis. I had left WWE and moving from Memphis to Phoenix, and I went through all that stuff and all the tapes and all the things that had been sent to me, the videos and all the things still in the packages, just tons of things. Right. I mean, today's collector's items. Oh gosh, yes. I put them all in a dumpster.
Oh, and that's all we have for tonight. Oh my God, you put them all in a dumpster.
Some guy came along. I had a garage sale, and I had some of the old costumes that I had.
Oh.
And some lady, she was with the Memphis theatrical productions that did theater in Memphis, and she said, "Those are nice costumes." And she told me what she did. I said, "You can have them." So she took some of the things, but not the jumpsuits. And I didn't have the jumpsuits out. I'd already put those in the trash can. And some guy, remember the action figures, the big rubber ones? They're worth $700-800. Some of them are $1,000.
Yeah.
If you had an Andre the Giant signed one right now that's signed in the package, or just signed by Andre the Giant, it's probably $5,000. So I had all those. My son had them and played with them, and they were all out there in a container. And the guy said, "How much for these?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "How about $20?" I said, "Sure, take them." There had to be $5,000.
Lewis is dying right now. Yeah.
Now, okay, but you have to understand, this was before the internet. A computer was the size of your kitchen table back then.
Hi, Angie.
So,
yes, I know.
And I told you earlier before we came on air, I've never been a collector. For some reason, I never did it. I don't like to look at old tapes of myself. I don't like to look at old pictures of myself because I'll never look that way again. And I don't want to relive my youth that I can't ever go back to. That's for the fans. I do that for them. I dress up and I get in a costume. I fix my hair. I look like the photos because that's something they want to relive. And if I can bring that to them in a Comic Con or at a wrestling show, that they can relive their memories for a few minutes, then that's my job, is to do that for them. It's not for me. My home is not a shrine to me. There's no pictures of Honky Tonk Man hanging in this house. I just don't do it. I don't take pictures. I don't have a picture of myself and Hulk Hogan together. I don't have a picture of myself and Macho Man together. None of that. I have none of that.
Oh, that's very hip.
Now, my cousin, Jerry King Lawler, he has a warehouse full of all of his stuff. He's a collector, and he's a Coca-Cola collector. He has everything that Coca-Cola has ever put out, I think. He has a whole room just nothing but Coca-Cola. And Jimmy Hart, Jimmy's another collector. I remember I didn't know Jimmy was such a big collector until I was we had a signing in Pittsburgh. It was a cold, rainy Sunday. We were going to do a signing there, and Franco Harris was on the thing with us. And Jimmy heard that Franco was going to be there, and he was telling the guy that was with us from WWE, he said, and this is Sunday morning at 9:00. He said, I got to have a football. Get me a football. I don't care if it costs $1,000. I got to have a football. I got to get it signed. And I'm thinking, Jimmy, why? He said, this is Franco Harris. I've got to get this. Come to find out, about a half hour later, Franco Harris wanted our autograph. So he came up to our room and took a picture with us and everything. I don't have a picture of it. I never kept. But Jimmy did. And Jimmy got a football somewhere, somehow. He got a football for Franco Harris to sign. I promise you, to this day, Jimmy still has it. Jimmy, he has two warehouses full. And Hulk Hogan, I never knew Hogan was a collector.
Really?
Yeah. Well, the shop he has there in Tampa, he's got all of these things. It's like, where did he have it? He collected these. I never knew it. Yeah.
We're going to take a 30-second break for the people that pay the bills, and we'll be right back with more of your questions and more with the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Don't go away.
Angrygeeks Show. Brought to you by CH Square Collectibles, Comics Collectibles, and more. Magic the Gathering every Friday at 6 p.m. Located at 39 Wedgwood Drive, Suite 232, Jewett City. Comics, sports card, autographs, online sales. CH Square Collectibles, proud sponsor of the Angrygeeks Show.
And we are back with the Honky Tonk. Man, that was a quick 30 seconds.
It really was.
That was a question, yeah.
Woo!
You guys do have sponsors. I was telling you about doing my podcast. I was one of the first wrestlers to ever do a podcast. We were cutting edge, and we were out there and doing these things. And I was always hoping someday I'll get pick up ads and people be on it and things like that, and it'll turn into something profitable, as opposed to putting a show together. And you guys know how hard it is, especially when you get a guest on or you want a guest and they say yes, they'll come on, and then you call them and they're not there. Or you call them and they say, yeah, I'm ready. And 10 minutes later they don't answer. It's like, okay. And to put a wrestling news program together, I spent a day before that, 2 days, sometimes just gathering news for from what had happened for the whole week, and then go and do the show. And we did it live. And I was hoping to get a radio deal, a real radio show out of it. And it never happened. And it was too hard of work for me. So I applaud you guys for what you're doing. I'm glad you do it.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me on, because when I'm off of this show, I won't have to worry about the next one. You guys will.
Well, I mean, you at Colorado Springs, before we get to the comments, we got a bunch of them coming in. At Colorado Springs, you made Jamie and I feel like $1 million, especially when you held the elevator for us and say, "Come on, kids." That just floored me. That just made our day. And I called home. I called my wife and I was like, you'll never believe. And even that Thursday evening when you and I just sat there in a restaurant and talked, I was just in awe. And Jamie and I got back to our hotel room, and I'm like, just sitting there telling her, I'm like, I had so many questions, I didn't know what to say. And it was like
it was adorable because you were like a little kid. You were just sitting there like this, talking the whole time. And
yeah, she was
like,
making fun of me. When we got back to the hotel room, she was laughing at me. She goes, you were like a puppy dog. You were sitting there as he was talking to you, just like
adorable.
And we had nothing to do with Peter Dante.
No, we didn't.
No.
I don't know. I mean, that weekend must have really set him off because after that, he's had major problems since then. I don't know. I mean, maybe that was the start of it, but he was out there somewhere that I didn't want to go. And I'm glad I was not around when all the drama happened. And it's like, just because I'm sitting there, I'm Honky Tonk Man. I didn't do anything. I was gone. I didn't see or hear anything.
You and I were having our conversation, and Jamie grabbed me and said, "We got to go." And I said, "I have to go." I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay there with you. We have Andre says that she's like, "We got to go now." Andre says that you wrestled in the best era of wrestling. Joe McDonald says, what we love is hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's blurry. What we love is hearing your memories. And Angie, hi Angie, see you soon. Trust me, your fans appreciate it. Thank you for being so humble. And we got more comments. Let's see. Kevin. Yeah, Kevin says, Jerry the King, your cousin Jerry the King Lawler is a great artist. What is your hidden talent?
I have none. I couldn't draw anything if my life depended on it. I'd say just go ahead and just finish me off. But Jerry is as good. He's as good of a cartoon type artist as anyone. He's as good as anyone in the world. And he had an art scholarship to University of Memphis and did that for a couple of years and got into doing radio at the university station. And he really loved wrestling. He started out as a small young boy drawing the pictures of the wrestling at the live wrestling show on a Monday night. And his dad would take him to the TV studio on Saturday, and they would show his photos, the pictures that he would draw. This was before videotapes and people were filming and bringing film in. It was fair, this is way back in the early 70s. And the TV guy started putting Jerry on every week, showing his drawings and things. But he is as good as anyone. He can sit and do a cartoon caricature of you, and you sit there, and 10 minutes later, he's finished with it. And it's like, are you kidding me? He's that good. He really is. He's as good as any of the people with any of the comic book people that do comic art. He's as good as any of those.
And Batman himself, Matches Malone, says probably the best episode of the Angry Geeks ever. Well, thank you, Batman. I appreciate that. And Jay Crandall agrees.
Someone, they also mentioned that we were around in the, what they call the golden years of wrestling.
Yep.
I was so fortunate to be part of that because before I got into wrestling, before I started into wrestling, or when I first started, it was more of a wrestling show where you had to be a wrestler, you had to be tough and rugged and all those things. And God bless him, Hulk Hogan came along, the 24-inch Python's brother, and it went entertainment. And I'm a song and dance man. I don't like to get beat up, and I got beat up enough in the first 5 or 6 years, and then finally I ran across this young 6'8", 300-pound musclehead, blonde hair, and a Fu Manchu, and he was Terry the Hook Boulder back then, and his brother was Eddie Boulder, who was Eddie Leslie was Brutus the Barber Beast beefcake. So I met those guys, and we shared. I let them share my apartment, and when their car was broken down, I let them use my car, and then we went on our merry way. And I didn't see either one of those guys for about 10 years, 15 years. And we met up in Calgary at a big show in Calgary where I was working for Bret Hart's dad, the Hart's family, and Hogan. It was like, a family reunion. And he asked me why I'm not there with those guys. And I said, heck, I didn't think I was good enough. And he said, I'll have the guy call you tomorrow. And the next morning, Vince called me. And 3 days later, I flew to New York, and he hired me. And that's how it happened.
Andre wants to know, what would you consider your most memorable match?
Well, I just today, ironically, sent off through eBay. Someone had put together matches of mine. The guy did a lot of research. It went from when I started to 2009, and he had 1,800 matches in that catalog. Wow. So there were so many. The Tupelo concession stand match that I had with my cousin Jerry and us with that thing, that was a turning point in my career. Going to WWE was the big step of my career. And I guess being down in Pensacola and having the Ron and Robert Fuller were the promoters, giving me the opportunity to do this thing, this vision I had of this character with the sideburns, the black hair, and the jumpsuit. That was a turning point. And obviously getting a chance for the Intercontinental title match with Steamboat in Buffalo, New York that time. And them having the office having enough confidence in me to let me run with that thing. And I ran with it. Vince said, you're going to need some days off. I said, I don't want a day off. I've been waiting to be here for 15 years. I'll run till I drop. And that's what I did. And for the next 454 days, I've ran with that belt until it was over.
All right. Melissa Myers, Michael and I just want to say hi to the Honky Tonk Man.
Hi.
And
now
Jack Purcell.
My doggy's showing up over here now. This is Miss Luna.
Jack Purcell from DC Comics and the Faces and Heels podcast. Jamie, you're going to have to read that one. Words are blurry.
I gotcha. Some of my favorite live matches were you against both Savage and Warrior. Thank you for all the amazing matches and memories.
Yeah, those were, like I said, with Randy. I had known Randy many years before then. I'd never wrestled him, but I knew him. He had worked for promoters I'd worked for, and we'd run across each other a couple of times, just hello, how you doing, and going about our merry way. But we clicked very well together, and then the Ultimate Warrior, that was a challenge. That was a test of my ability to keep from getting killed. So he was a little rough around the edges, and I made it through that, and but it worked out very well, and he ended up being a big star and being everything that Vince McMahon is a visionary. There's people in this world that have ideas and think up things. They're inventors and songwriters and, great actors and actresses and different walks of life can do, many, many things. It's incredible. But I think of Vince as a visionary. He's like like a Bill Gates, a visionary, a person that says he wants to see a computer in everyone's house. He not only has a computer in everyone's house, he's got multiple computers in people's houses now. And Vince is the kind of guy that could drive down the street and see someone on the sidewalk and say, I want to take this character and do something with it. And you're going, what? Are you kidding me? But he has a vision that we don't see. And that's the thing about those kind of people. Richard Branson, he's a visionary. Ted Turner was a visionary. They see these things that we can think, are you kidding me? Nobody's going to pay for cable television. Well, Ted proved if they would. So there you go.
Chris Hebert from CH Square Collectibles says, "Hey, Honky Tonk Man, thanks for doing this. Can't wait to meet you at Rhode Island Comic Con."
Well, I can't wait to get there. I mean, I just this thing came about. You guys were asking me, was I going to come to Rhode Island? Was I coming to Rhode Island? I said, no, I passed on it. I decided I didn't want to go. And I had someone else working on it for me, and they had me stopping in Baltimore, doing something there, and then coming up to Rhode Island and then doing some other things. And I couldn't be away. I can't be away that long because of my daughter's work schedule. She's an emergency, she's an emergency veterinarian. So she works at an emergency clinic, and I have to coordinate my dates on the dates where she's off so that she can take care of Miss Luna over here. Miss Luna is a Texas cattle dog. She's more of a Kelpie. She's a cross between a cattle dog and a German Shepherd, and she's like what they call a Kelpie. She's got a real thin face on her, muscular body, short hair, and she needs a lot of attention. She's growling now. She's wanting attention, Miss Luna.
I'm not the only one with a needy dog.
Yes, and she has to have that attention about 10 times a day, and the ball throwing and going out. Luckily, I live near a golf course right around the corner here. I can just walk right across, and she's got plenty of room to play and run and do things. Without that, she would probably eat up all the furniture. And then, they all wake me up 4 a.m. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is. But yeah, getting back to Rhode Island, the dates they didn't work for me. And I was telling you guys that when you asked me about coming up. And then I didn't know that Steve, when I was in Colorado Springs, I didn't know Steve was the promoter of Colorado Springs and of Rhode Island. And I hadn't been in Rhode Island for that Comic-Con in 3-4 years, maybe. It's been quite a while. It was when they had the show, and there was 2 separate buildings.
Yep, one still is both. Yeah.
And we were downstairs in maybe it was the Civic. Was it the?
We have the Dunkin' Donuts Center and we have the Convention Center, and they're connected.
One of them was like the circular building. We were down in the basement area.
Stadium, the arena.
Yeah.
Yes, we were there. Then we got moved up to the other building where the big convention hall is for the. We were there on Friday downstairs, I think. Then we got moved Saturday and Sunday up top. So that was the year I was there. Jason Momoa was down there sitting two tables beside me. That's how we met each other and became friends, because Jason was there that weekend. So cool. Yeah, and that was before he was like, this huge mega star that he is now. Yeah.
See if you can get into Aquaman too.
That was before he was Aquaman, yeah. But that's the thing that's the thing about the Comic Cons. You meet so many interesting people. So many, whether it be the fans, whether it be the people that volunteer, whether it be the people that work there, whether it be the celebrity that's there, or the artist or the comic book people that's there selling their comic books or selling the products that they make and they put on display. It really is a unique type of a thing. And I enjoy them. I really do. I wish I could do one every weekend. I really do. And at one time I was doing 2 or 3 a month, but then then the COVID thing just killed off a lot of cons. They won't ever come back.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
This is a question that Jamie and I usually ask during a Comic-Con panel, but we have such a great audience today. We can't get to all these questions, but what's the weirdest item that a fan brought to you to sign?
Gosh, that's a tough one. It's always been fan material. It's not been anything like strange or weird. I mean, I've had people want me to sign body parts, but
I'm sure. I'm sure of that. I mean, God.
I mean, I've done so many nightclub shows and gentlemen's clubs and things like that over the years that's. I mean, it's like, okay, sure. It's like signing an autograph photo to me. It's no big deal. So, and it's like, and I don't do body parts anymore because why? It's not like they're going to last forever. You get hot and sweaty or something, it's just all gone in 20 minutes anyway. So and then someone takes a picture of you doing that. And nowadays it's like, no, I don't mess with it. People will show up with, they tore down the old building, in Detroit. It got torn down, and where we had the big WrestleMania with 94,000 people, WrestleMania 3 out in Detroit. And people come up now, they'll have a piece of the building, the ceiling of the building. They'll have that for you to sign, or they'll have a chair or a piece of a chair. Someone came to me a year ago or two, just before the COVID thing hit. They had a piece of a guitar, and I said, "Where did you get this?" And they said, "El Paso, Texas. You did a TV taping and you hit the Ultimate Warrior with it. And when the show was over, we stayed and nobody swept it up. And I got this piece." And I said, "You're right." And it was that piece of that guitar. And that fella had been keeping that for 25 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. And that was like, man. He said, "How much to sign?" I said, "You've kept this that long. I'm not charging you anything, buddy." I mean, to keep a piece of something like that and just wait.
It was like probably his most prized possession,
And to wait all that time to get it signed. And I remembered, and I know the guitar and I know the piece and everything about it. And I said, "You're absolutely right." Yeah. Yeah, he got it.
That's
cool.
Yeah. It was
simple.
He hung around
Amazing.
and waited till the building was empty and the people were sweeping up, and he ran over and got it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just that is dedication, and that is amazing, and that's a true fan. Melissa Myers even agrees. She comes in and says that is amazing. That must have made you feel really good. I mean,
the fans will do that. They will have those kinds of things, and the thing about it is, every picture does tell a story. Every piece of merchandise that you sign has a story behind it. And they'll bring me photos of something that happened 40 years ago, a picture of me or somewhere, and it'll just be an inadvertent picture, maybe walking out of a building or standing beside a car. And then it brings back, and I remember, if this was there in this building and this date, and it all comes back. And that's the amazing part, that the fans will keep those things.
What was your first reaction when you saw your very first action figure?
Well, I had seen the checks the guys were getting from those. And
I didn't ask that.
Well, that's important because that's I said, gosh, I hope they make one of those things of me. Typically the bad guys, they didn't have merchandise. They didn't put the merchandise out on bad guys, but they were putting things out. Those big action figures. I came in on I think the 1987 version. There had been 3 or 4 different runs of those action figures before mine was put out. And and of course, like I said, one of the boys had told me I'd seen his check, and I said, "Man, I hope they'll put one out of me." And they did. And I'm not complaining. People think, well, he's complaining. Look, anything that happens now that they do for you is good. And even then it was good. The checks weren't great by any means. They put 37,000 of those out on me. I found out 37,000, not 37 million, not a million Hulk Hogan dolls. They put 37,000 of them out on me, and they only put them out in Canada.
Really?
And if you look at the big one, yes. And if you look at they didn't put them out worldwide. So now when I say the checks, that's the reason I was hoping for these, nice kind of a payday, and it ended up not being nice. It was, but anything is good. And if you look at the package on them now and look them up, it's in French and English.
Okay.
So on the thing where it says the poster, you get a poster. That's a poster inside it. Then it's written in French. But I found out. So 37,000 was not very many. And on the back of some of them, there's what they call a card. It's a cut.
Yep.
It's a card on the back. And it should be your card on the back of you. On the back of a lot of those, and I had to come home and check mine. I have 3 left now, one for myself and one for my son and one for my daughter. I had to come home and check to make sure there was a picture of me on the back of mine, because I have seen tons of them that had Hogan on the back.
Really?
So I don't know if he got paid for them or I got paid.
Joe McDonald has a comment. We're getting down to the wire, so if you guys have a comment, get it in.
If you see those big rubber action figures, those LJNs, check the back and see if it's me or Hogan on the back. So if you find so I don't know if it was a misprint. I don't know anything. I never contacted LJN. I don't know anybody from there. I knew the people from Mattel, and so they would tell me if I'm getting a new one or when I was getting one. And I have one coming out now. Just ordered a dozen of them off of Walmart.com, but they won't be delivered till end of January. And it's pre-order right now on them. So I have another one coming.
Wow. Okay.
And the only way I found out was someone posted it on Twitter.
I can tell you.
Is it going to be in?
Oh my God.
No one.
Is it going to be in the? Is it going to be in Elite? Do you know if it's going to be in Elite?
Whatever. I think I'll send you a link to the picture of it.
Please.
I think I have the picture of it on my Facebook page. It's there.
Okay.
It looks it looks like the old LJN, but it's not. I don't know what it's called. But no, in WWE, the toy companies, we do not get free ones at all. You get 0. Whatever you get is what you buy.
Okay.
And you just buy them retail like anybody else.
Joe McDonald says first time I met Honky was when he, Jimmy, and Peggy Sue arrived at the hotel for the '87 King of the Ring in Providence.
Providence, Rhode Island, yes.
Yeah. Batman Matches Malone wants to know, what is your inspiration? Not who, what is your inspiration?
Just seeing my children do good, seeing them grow and become successful. That's. I mean, I've done mine. I've driven those highways. I've been there, and now it's time for me to see them go on and do good, and that's what matters to me. Nothing else. Nothing else. Wow. Maintaining the health that I have, and hopefully, but the inspiration is seeing my children be successful and carry on. That's all that matters. And neither one of them wanted to be in wrestling, which is good. My daughter's a doctor, and my son works for in the logistics department of Amazon. So, I mean, they're doing good, and I'm out here doing Comic Cons, having fun on the weekend, acting like a kid. The good Batman. Someone asked me why did you want to get into wrestling business? I said I never wanted to grow up. I wanted to just act like a kid.
That's me. That's why I do this with her.
I mean, it's the best thing, and you guys know this.
Yeah.
You can do everything all week long or all month long, but you're waiting for that one Comic Con. You go to it and you feel great. Even when it's over, you go, oh, I'm so tired. It doesn't matter. You had so much fun doing it, and that's what I enjoy.
The experience is worth it.
Well, I think Jamie told you when we got back to the hotel, or whenever we get back to the hotel, especially in Colorado, her poor feet were just,
oh my God,
because of her boots.
Half of my left foot was numb I'm not even kidding you. It took a month for the feeling to come back in my foot.
I learned my lesson. I wore cowboy boots to Comic-Con, and to stand up for 10 hours for those 3 days, I would go back to the room and put my feet up and up on 4 pillows and prop them up. And it's like, oh gosh, that was it for wearing any kind of boots to a Comic-Con. Then I started wearing flip flops, and that helped a lot immensely because my feet would swell up. Then I went on a diet before the Hall of Fame thing, and I lost 42 pounds, and now my feet don't swell up, so I wear normal shoes now. So, yeah, I'm okay.
Whoop, whoop.
Well, we are at the close of our show, so, sir, please tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
Oh, I got the Facebook page. It's Wayne HTM Farris, Faris, and of course I'm on official HTM on Twitter. That's about it. I don't do all the other stuff. I'm not a TikToker or whatever that stuff. I don't do that.
Oh,
I'm not going to videotape myself. But if you really want to find me, next weekend, November the 6th, 7th, 8th, I think is the dates on it.
At Rhode Island Comic-Con. Now, I tell you what.
At Rhode Island Comic-Con.
At Rhode Island Comic-Con, I want you guys to go to the Honky Tonk Man's table. I want you to get a picture. I want you to get an autograph. I want you to buy something. And I'm going to speak for Honky Tonk Man right now. If you go down to his table and you mention code word Angry Geeks, he will sign everything with a free smile just because you said
Absolutely.
Angry Geeks.
Absolutely.
Is that okay? If he says
Absolutely.
Lewis and Jamie, you get a free smile, and I think he'll even use a pen to sign your autograph.
Yes.
For free.
A handshake and a hug.
A handshake and a hug for free just because you said code word Angry Geeks. How about that? Jamie, where can everyone find us each and every week, please?
You can find us on the website at theangrygeeksshow.com or on Facebook and Instagram at The Angry Geeks.
And we will see everybody November 5th, 6th, and 7th at Rhode Island Comic-Con, where Jamie and I are going to be live Friday night. Angry Geeks Live, leading into the Kevin Smith panel. And we got our panels all weekend long. And we're going to be working with this guy, too, on his panel. We'll see you guys there. Be safe, Rhode Island. We'll talk to you guys all soon. Bye. Make sure you go to this table, buy a picture, autograph. See you.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation, found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.